In this episode, solving right triangles, coming up, back into action. Hey guys, today we will be focusing on solving right triangles. Sounds a little bit ambiguous, but in fact, all you need to do is just find all the missing sides and angles on your right triangle. Well, what is the right triangle? It's just a triangle that has one right angle, basically 90 degrees angle, which is typically denoted by this little corner inside or little box, if you will. Now, you're already given one of the side of your triangle and it's 5. It's already labeled on your diagram. Also, you are given an angle, angle B or CBA, which is 30 degrees. And all you need to do for your triangle A, B and C to find the missing sides, first of all, so which are AB and BC, and also you are not given one angle, since this one implies to be 90 degrees. So this angle BAC or angle A or CAB, it's the same thing, is unknown also. So we need to come up with this angle also. Now, all you need to do for this type of problems, you need to use the mnemonic Trick SOH CAH TOA, that basically gives you a hint which function, sine, cosine or tangent, you are going to use to find your missing sides. Now, another your best friend over here is Pythagorean, or Pythagorean some people say, or just Pythag for a short, theorem that basically connects all your three sides of your triangle. Now, let's dive into this. The first thing to do, always label your sides of your triangle. Well, basically, we're given capital letters for vertices of your triangle, but you could use lowercase letters. It's kind of convention and standard. You might see that we could use just for a shorter to avoid writing the sides using these two letters like AB, BC or AC. So let's do it. You're already given side AC, which is 5, so basically we don't need a letter for this side. We already know that it's 5. Now, typically, the longest side of your triangle, and it's the side which is directly opposite from your angle, 90 degrees angle C, this is typically denoted by lowercase c, so it's directly across from capital C, big C, so this is small little c. Now, and the last side, which is directly across from that point of view, from the angle A, typically usually it's denoted by lowercase or little a, because this is basically your side which is directly across from A. Now, another important thing to do is you need to name your sides, the sides of your triangle, in relation to that angle 30 degrees that you are given. Let's call it theta. So you need to give them special names with regard to this angle 30 degrees. And if you need help with this, or if you need more light on these things, please check out my another basic trigonometry SOH CAH TOA episode where I explained all these basic trig stuff from the beginning. Now, the longest side on your triangle, or another way you could think of this, is the side that directly across, directly opposite from your 90 degrees, from your right angle. So that side is called hypotenuse, and we could just label it hypotenuse. Now, the side which is next to your angle 30 degrees is your adjacent side. So next means adjacent, so adjacent, and we could just write it down, ADJ. And finally the last side, which is directly across from your angle 30 degrees, which is directly opposite from the 30 degrees, which is typically called the opposite side. Nothing special. So this is opposite side. Now, everything is labeled. We know all these three sides, their names, because that's extremely important and we're going to use it in relation to theta. And we know that, as you can see, that we need to find the side A, the side C, and the missing angle capital A, but that's just leave for the end of that story. Now, we are going to use this mnemonic hint SOH CAH TOA to find all these two missing sides of your triangle. Now, the question that might be raised here, which part of this mnemonic device should I pick to find the missing sides? As a good rule of thumb, you should pick a function that involves a side that you already know opposite side, and that side we don't know yet, we're looking for, we're after. So in this case, we know opposite, but we don't know adjacent and hypotenuse. We don't know two sides. So basically, you could either start with finding adjacent side or opposite. So there are two different ways to start off these problems. It's completely up to your whim. Let's start with the hypotenuse. So to find the hypotenuse, we need to know opposite side and that angle. So basically we're going to select SOH part, and your function that has to be picked in this case, it's your sine. Again, why? Because sine deals with opposite over hypotenuse, and we know opposite, so we're going to use this actual number, but we don't know hypotenuse, and we can find it. So let's do it. So I'm going to take out this SOH part of your mnemonic device. SOH part. This is your kind of first step, because all of these problems, they're kind of multi-steps problems, so you could just follow the pattern. So SOH part. And it's written this way. It might be look a little bit weird and bizarre, and I wrote on purpose because I would like to emphasize that sine is the ratio, the fraction, opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine as well, it's a ratio, so you need to take the ratio adjacent over hypotenuse, and tangent is opposite over hypotenuse, that's over adjacent, and tangent is opposite over adjacent. So that's way. Now for sine, we could just literally write the equation that connects all these pieces of information that were given and we need to find. So sine of 30 degrees opposite over hypotenuse. which is in our case your opposite side, which is 5, we can plug in that number. And your hypotenuse we don't know, so that's your little letter C. Sometimes people use letters like X, Y, I mean it's completely up to you. You could label them with any letters, but I'm using this small a, b, c because they're kind of convenient way, even in terms of this capital A, B, C. But again, it's completely up to you. Now we have this kind of little equation. So sine 30 degrees equals 5 over c. And all you need to do is just solve it for c. Yeah, that's algebra as well involved, engaged over here, but that's all about maths. So basically, it's the same thing as sine 30 degrees. So it's just 1 over 2. If you are allowed to use calculator, you could basically plug it in and figure out these values. But for this, since 30 degrees it's a standard angle, and this triangle kind of a special triangle, some people say. So this value, it's stable value for trig functions, and this is just a half. And you have 5 over c. So again, we're aiming for c. We want to get c alone. So solving explicitly for c. So you could use a proportion property and just explicitly express your c. It's cross multiplication. That basically means you need to multiply 5 by 2 and divide it by 1. So it becomes just 5 times 2. And you see is just 10 units. Congratulations, hypotenuse is there, it's 10. Now, we're not done yet. We need to find another missing side, which is adjacent side, A. So let's do it. Now, similarly, we need to find this adjacent side. What deals with adjacent side? It's either cosine or tangent. We know hypotenuse and we know opposite side. So again, you have a choice. It's always fine to have a choice in your life. So you could either pick cosine or tangent. Since again, we know hypotenuse, which is 10, and we know opposite, which is 5. So you could either pick these two for finding your adjacent side. Let's pick tangent for fun. So I'm going to pick this TOA part and just write it down TOA. So, and just write this little equation that connects your pieces of information. So tangent of 30 degrees equals, so opposite over adjacent, so O over A. So your opposite over adjacent. And basically it's the same thing as your opposite side is 5 and adjacent is what we're looking for. We don't know, so it's labeled with A. Again, you have this little equation and tangent 30 degrees again. So it's a table value for tangent, and it's basically the same thing as 1 over root of 3, square root of 3. 5 over A. And we could express A explicitly in the same way like we did before. So you could use this cross multiplication, and your A basically is 5 times root over 1. So it's just 5 root of 3. This is your A. We did find all two missing sides of your triangle. And as I said before, there are two different ways of finding that adjacent side, A. You could either use cosine or you could use tangent. Actually, I lied. There are three ways of finding this side. You could use your best friend, Pythagorean Theorem or Pythag Theorem. So you could always rely on your best friend. Why? Because it's your best friend. So Pythagorean Theorem that connects, that gives you that perfect ideal relationship between the hypotenuse and two legs opposite and adjacent of your triangle. So let's just try it for fun. So if you don't want to tackle with this SOH CAH TOA device, SOH CAH TOA trick, you could use Pythagorean theorem anytime if it's possible to figure out the third side. Because if you know two sides, doesn't matter which one. It could be two legs, and if you need to find the hypotenuse, you need to apply it straight away. If you are given hypotenuse and one of the legs, you could find another leg by just rearranging this Pythagorean theorem. Let's do it. So, or we could find side A by applying Pythag theorem. So this is the relationship between the hypotenuse and two legs, and all it says that the square of the hypotenuse equals the squares of two legs added together. Now we're going to find the A, the adjacent side. So your A basically becomes, all you need to do is just take the square root. So just rearrange this formula from your C squared minus, so hypotenuse squared, minus B squared. And all you need to do is just plug in the values into this formula. Just, I want to pay your attention that I'm going to take the positive square root, since that's the length of the side. It cannot be negative, it's meaningless. So just you take always the positive value of square root, since generally square root has two positive and negative versions. Now let's substitute, and it becomes, so C squared, your C is 10, and you square it, so it's 100, minus, and B squared, your B is 5, and you square it, becomes 25. Just do maths, and you will be left with 75 underneath your square root. Try algebra as well, and since 75 can be broken down into 25 and 3 inside your root symbol, and 5 basically can be extracted, can be pulled out outside of your square root. So this is like little bit algebra, and if you need help with this, you could check out my episode on dealing with radicals or roots. It's on my playlist. So it becomes just 5 root of 3. That's your side A, which is adjacent, and as you might see, it's precisely the same answer as before, what was basically expected. Alright, moving on. The last step, and this is my favorite part of the solution because it's the easiest part. Now, you need to find this angle A, which we don't know. Use that fact from elementary geometry that all angles in your triangle have to add up, have to sum up to 180 degrees. So the sum of all angles, it's 180 degrees. Since this is your right angle, this is 90 degrees angle, since you are given a right angled triangle, or for short a right triangle. So we could simply get this angle A, and angle A becomes 180. You subtract off, you minus the sum of these two angles, so 90 degrees plus 30 degrees. And it's easy as a piece of cake, so that brackets gives you just 120, and you subtract these two numbers, and that would leave you with 60 degrees. Well, little bit remark over here sometimes, and I might admit that most of the cases you are not given that standard angle in your triangle, so it's not necessary to be 30, 45, 60, that special triangles. So sometimes you are given not that special triangles, and it's most of the times. So in that case, just use your graphing or scientific calculator. So just plug in into your calculator and figure out these values for sine, cosine, or tangent of that angle that you are given. Just make sure that you are in degrees mode, not in a radian mode. I hope it was helpful. Thanks for watching and train your brain. I know everyone hates maths, but if you like my video, or maybe you like me, please hit like, share with your friends, leave the comment down below, and be sure to subscribe so you will not miss out my new videos.